there's been lots of stories of cures with herbs and vitamins and natural healing techniques, but everybody says, well, there's no scientific evidence. And it's the same thing with urine therapy. The doctors simply dismiss it, but it's not the case. There is, in fact, tons of medical evidence, and the doctors themselves are using it. So I want to start at the beginning of our century, when really in the West, urine therapy began to come out of its anecdotal past, where it had been used historically, into the laboratory in the Western world itself. Now, in 1918, Dr. Charles Duncan, M.D., was one of the first people to write about this. And lots of people have heard of him, actually, when I start talking about urine therapy. Dr. Duncan's name comes up a lot. He was one of the first MDs who actually wrote about it. And he was the founder of the Volunteer Hospital in New York City. So he was a pretty big guy in his time. It was a long time ago, but he was an accredited medical doctor. He started writing articles on urine therapy for medical journals. And he was telling his colleagues, basically, that he had a lot of clinical evidence that showed that urine therapy was working for him in treating urinary tract infections, cystitis, kidney infections, diabetes. And he said that, these were his words, he said, "I employed urine successfully in the treatment of many conditions, and it is employed successfully by many other doctors in treating patients suffering with a great variety of diseases." So, even in 1918, doctors in the West were already using it. In 1928 and 29 in France, a research team by the name of Oriel and Barber started using urine therapy for allergies. Now, they were absolutely astounded, frankly, by the results that they were getting, because, again, allergies are so difficult to treat. And just to get into a little background on allergies, because so many of us have them, in an allergic situation, what happens is that antibodies in your body, white blood cells, start identifying benign substances as very dangerous. In other words, something like pollen, which is a natural thing in our environment. The body shouldn't react to it. It shouldn't send out antibodies to attack pollen, but it does. And a lot of that is because the immune system is not up to par. And these days, because of pollution and the way we live, our poor food, most of us have these problems because of our immune system. Our immune systems are somewhat depressed. Now, the thing about urine therapy that was so surprising to early researchers is that urine therapy, urine itself, contains these antibodies that cause the allergic response in the first place. And it's the only substance in the world that's going to contain this particular antibody. Now, when you take back the urine into the body, it contains these what I call bad antibodies, in a sense, that are identifying substances as dangerous to you. And that your body sets up a reaction where it produces antibodies against the bad antibodies. So in a sense, you're using a natural vaccine to help the allergy. It's the only substance in the world that will do that. And that's why doctors, even as far back as the 1920s, started getting really excited about allergies and urine therapy, because no matter what they did and no matter what substance they used, even today, urine therapy was the best solution that they could find. Now, in 1930, there were another couple doctors in Europe, a Dr. Galt, who used human urine in treating eye diseases, glaucoma, cataracts. Dr. Cimino in Italy wrote several papers on the vaccine therapy of infections by means of subcutaneous injections of patients' urine. This is another thing, too, is that we don't know anything about this, but even today, doctors all over the world are still using injections of urine therapy, and they're using them for all kinds of diseases. I'll get into the longer list of those, but it really is a situation that we need to take a stock in, because even though it seems like the weirdest thing you've ever heard, it's probably one of the most powerful natural therapies you're ever going to use, and it's free. There are different ways to use urine therapy. You don't necessarily have to use it through ingestion. There's injections that can be used, and there's also I don't know if most people are aware of this, but there is a solid in urine, a salt, which is called urea. Now, most of you have heard of urea, but I don't think any of you realize that urea is an FDA-approved drug. It's extracted from urine. It used to be extracted from urine. It's synthesized now. Urea is an unbelievable diuretic. The neurosurgeons use it for reducing cerebral spinal fluid. So you've got a lot of different ways to use urine therapy. And there's a lot of applications that you don't know about. But for myself, it's hard to find the injections. It's hard to find doctors who will do the injections. You can get urea, but again, one of the problems with urea is that you're not getting all of the benefits of the urine. And I'm going to go into that a little later. But there are several ways to use it. That's what I guess I want you to know. That's the biggest message I have to give, is that it's not an outlandish therapy by any means. It is being used. A lot of doctors are injecting it, and they have been for a long, long time. In 1931, the Russians began using it, and there were a lot of papers that came out of Russia on the use of autourine therapy in skin diseases, and they also used it in arthritis, especially inflammatory types of arthritis, because urine therapy is wonderful for reducing any type of inflammation. In 1932, Matusevich and Bergman in Argentina started using it for spasmodic rhinitis. Ovarian disturbances in Germany were treated by a Dr. Schindberg. Dr. Adler, also in Germany, started using it on arthritis. Actually, and this was done orally by Dr. Adler. He did not inject it. In 1933, a Dr. Mascarotti in Italy was using it in his practice, in his gynecological practice, for ovarian cysts, problems in the ovaries. In 1934, in the University of Perugia in Naples, Italy, a Dr. Tiberi did a huge clinical test on patients with kidney disease. He treated 180 different patients with kidney disease in his clinic. And these were, at that time, kidney disease was really tough to treat. It still is. It's one of the hardest or the most difficult things to treat. And you know, it's interesting. I don't think a lot of people realize this, but especially in our culture today, many people have kidney problems. They have kidney stress. You know, it's a stressful world we live in. And one of the things that's most affected is the kidneys, because the kidneys basically have the work of balancing the blood, of taking the blood and continually balancing all the elements in it. And today we seem to be using so many excess elements. We take in too much salt. We take in too much water, minerals, vitamins, you know, to try to pump ourselves up, basically. And the kidneys are the ones that are the organs in the body that take the full brunt of this. And that's one of the reasons that I love urine therapy, is that it really addresses the kidney problem like nothing else does. People, this particular study that was done in Italy with Tiberi, people with urinary tract infections and kidney infections at that time had little hope of getting well. And his injections of urine therapy, patient after patient after patient went home completely cured. When I was reading it, I thought, you know, this is fantastic, because today people end up on dialysis, they end up on anti-inflammatories. There is no cure for this type of thing. So I think it's extremely important in general today, when people are having a lot of subliminal kidney stress. A lot of times if you have urinary tract infections and they come out, over and over and over again, which is it's fairly common today. A lot of the reason is not because you've got a bacterial problem so much as that your kidneys are under stress, and urine therapy can help a lot with that. Now, in the 1930s, there was a Dr. Krebs who was a German pediatrician, and he wrote books, actually, on urine therapy. He called, as many other doctors did at the time, they call urine therapy autogenous urine therapy. You're going to hear that a lot as urine therapy is talked about more and more, which is becoming more and more popularized. Autogenous therapies mainly, it basically means that you're using a substance which belongs to your body in order to cure yourself. And urine therapy is the primary autogenous therapy that is available. So you'll probably hear that term quite a bit. Now, Dr. Krebs gave intramuscular injections. He said that they can positively influence and produce sudden improvement in asthma, hay fever, allergic, and even convulsive conditions in children. He used it for chickenpox, measles, mumps, and other types of common other types of common infant illnesses which were not treatable by other means at the time.